This is celery root, and in the fall our farmers markets are just filled with it. But to tell you the truth, I've never really liked this stuff very much. I'm not much of a celery fan, and this to me is really strong in that celery flavor. And so I went to this competition and they handed me celery root and said, make something delicious out of it. So I was kind of stuck. I had to do it. And I came up with this recipe that I'm going to make with you today that, well, to tell you the truth, it's actually become something that I look forward to making and eating. So it starts, well, I'm going to go through something that's like a celery root pancake, but I'm going to add my flavors to it, which I think is what balances the flavor of the celery root. So we're going to start by peeling the celery root, and it's got a fairly tough exterior. So I'm peeling it sort of the same way that I would peel, say, an orange if I was going to make supremes out of it or cut the segments out of it, starting at the top and then going around to the bottom. Now the top you can cut off just in one fell swoop there. I'm going about 1/8 of an inch or so. And this root end, it's going to be the place where you're going to lose a little bit more because it's always kind of knobby down there. And you really do want to get most of the skin off of it. Okay, so I think that'll give me kind of what I'm looking for. I'm going to cut it into 6 pieces, because those will fit into my food processor, and I'm going to shred it. Now you could do this shredding on a box grater, but it's a lot more work. If you have a food processor that you can use, that's the way to go. So I've got the fine shredding blade in here, and about 3 of those at a time. Let's see if I can make this work with that. Okay. And now the second batch of our celery root. And I'm going to take the blade out. There's a couple of pieces here that didn't go all the way through. Set that right over there, and our grated or shredded celery root is going to go in on top of shredded potato. These are Yukon Gold potatoes. They work really well for this particular recipe. Okay, we should have about 6 cups total, about 3 cups each of the shredded celery root. Now I'm going to add other flavorings to it. I've got to get rid of all of the peels of the celery root there. I'm going to add things that certainly you would expect from me. One is cilantro, and I'm going to chop up cilantro the way that I always chop it up, which is really not chopping but thinly slicing into what chefs call chiffonade. So I'm cutting across the cilantro, the stems, leaves, and all. And when I run out of leaves, I'll stop with that much of it there. Put the stems over here, and I'm going to take about half of this cilantro and add that to the shredded celery root mixture. Put that other to the side here on top of some crema, some Mexican crema. That's going to be what we serve this with. Second of the ingredients that's going to flavor these celery root pancakes, and that is some Chipotle chilies, the smoke-dried jalapenos. So clean up the board a little bit here, clean off my knife a little bit, get all that cilantro off of it. And these are the smoke-dried jalapenos that are canned, and they've come in like a vinegary tomato sauce. And I'm going to pull out 4 of those guys and chop them up, seeds and all. If I was looking for perhaps a more refined texture, I could take the seeds out of them. But for this particular pancake, I think everything's going to be fine with those seeds in it. So cut across, and then cut the other way, and you'll have the very finely chopped Chipotle chilies. Okay, that looks good to me. I'm going to take about 2/3 of this mixture and put that into the pancakes. The last third of it will go into the crema. Again, I need to clean up my board here before I continue on. I've got a couple of eggs here to add to the mixture. Crack those in. This will help to keep it together, obviously. And then a nice mix. And I'm going to crack those eggs. Oh, I forgot the seasoning with salt. This will take a full teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to start stirring that up until I get that egg and cilantro and chipotle thoroughly mixed with the shredded potato and celery root. I've got a large skillet heating. This one is a non-stick. I prefer to make these in non-stick or a well-seasoned cast iron pan. I'm going to give it just a nice light film of olive oil. Any kind of oil would work for this. And then I'm going to make a few pancakes to show you what they look like. Just scoop some of the mixture down into the hot pan. I'll come back and shape them better in a second. And then press it into a nice clear looking cake. The reason I say to go back and reform them is that you don't want the little edge pieces that are sticking out to fall off when you try to flip them or transfer them. So pack them down just a little bit like that. Okay, tip it around, making sure that there's enough oil on everything there. And we'll let those cook while we finish the crema here. So in this bowl is chopped cilantro, chopped chipotle chili, and Mexican crema, or you could use some creme fraiche for this. I think probably strained Greek yogurt would be a good thing too. I'm going to give it just a little bit of salt. And this will become the garnish that we put on it. So if you kind of think about potato pancakes with sour cream on them, we're kind of going in that same direction, but using the celery root and, of course, giving it the kind of flavors that I'm so in love with. These should be just about ready to flip now. Oh, beautiful. And we'll let those cook for another couple of minutes on the other side. The cakes are ready now. I'm going to put them onto a serving plate. So they're shingling them here, one slightly overlapping the other. And then we have our cilantro and chipotle crema to spoon on top of them. And then the last little bit here is queso añejo, Mexican queso añejo, that aged cheese. If you can't lay your hands on this, sometimes people call it cotija. It's a specific variety of it. But if you can't lay your hands on that, my suggestion is that replace it with a little Romano or perhaps some Parmesan cheese. I pulled out some more cilantro that I could just lay on here, leaf by leaf, like that. Looks really beautiful. And now I'm a convert. I really like celery root.